So, you want to talk about fear of failure on competition day. Let's get into it. So, first off, fear of failure usually will stem from past failures, right? And the fact that you never want to feel that way again. Now, some champions, if you want to say, some champions will take that as a learning lesson, right? They never want to feel the pain of what it feels like to lose. So they take that into every practice, every day moving forward, and they make the decision to never lose again, right? Now, the difference between making that choice and living in the fear can be a small line, right? So then we then have to look back at what is your other past experiences with failure. Was it something that somebody you admired made you feel shame around failing? Did you shame yourself around failing? So then we get caught in the cycle and the fear of it instead of allowing it be a learning experience, which we can grow in and push through. So another thing we need to look at when it comes to competition day, and you're doing all of this prep leading up, right? You're putting all the blood, sweat, and tears into everyday practice, into the nutrition that you're putting in your body, into making sure you're getting the right sleep, adequate water intake, right? All of these things take a lot of power, like a lot of mind power, a lot of strength, right? And then we get to competition, and it's the hardest day of the year, right? We're misery, we're anxious, we have all this performance anxiety that we're really struggling. When the reality is, all of that hard work should be in the back of your mind, knowing going into competition day that this is the best day of my life, right? Like, this is the best day of the year. All the blood, sweat, and tears that I put in leading up is all for this moment. And now all I have to do is relax and enjoy, right? It's a mind shift that we have to make. And if you're finding yourself struggling getting into the joy of it, like, why are you competing, right? You're there because you love it, because you love to push your body, you love to see how much greater you can become. That's why we're doing it, right? We have this potential to be great, but where's that disconnect? Okay. So a couple different ways of how we can shift that. One, I'm going to teach you some dynamic tapping for this exact fear that's going on, this fear of failure. And then individually, you can start to dig in a little bit more as to what's going on, why it's showing up, right? So one thing I want you guys to think about is when you're coming to competition, the nerves, right? Like, oh, your stomach's churning, all the things are coming, right? And you're feeling this inside your body. It's just energy, right? It's energy. So it can be used in your competition, or it can be the butterflies that hold you back, the things that really, make you like stale, make you just kind of live inside your head, right? So let's think about it. It's all, our body has a physiological response, right, to those nerves, if we want to call them those. So if you think about it, if you tell yourself you're nervous, that's a state of mind. If you tell yourself you're excited, that's a completely different state of mind. Now, instead of being afraid of the competition, you're excited. You're going to be living in your joy. You can be in the zone, right? So that's a little bit of a shift. You have to realize that even the greatest of greats, the best athletes in the world, they all get those butterflies, right? It's super, super normal. I don't care how long you've been competing, every single time it happens, right? It always happened to me. And the difference is your body feels the exact same, whether you're nervous or whether you're excited. So the physiological response is identical. The difference is in your mind. So you have to make the conscious choice that you're excited, right? Feel the energy, use it as fuel, use it as fire. If you tell yourself you're nervous, you're going to start closing down. The energy is going to live inside you. It's going to grow, right? So tell yourself, I'm excited. I'm in my joy. This is what I trained all year to do, right? And then start being in that moment. Be in fucking gratitude, right? Be grateful that you're there. There's so many people would die to be in the position that you're at the level that you're competing. Be grateful and think about all the hard work that it's taken for you to get to this level, and be grateful for who you are and what you have, right? Of course, sometimes it takes digging into all of those things that are like, why am I programmed this way? All right, why is this my natural response? Okay. But those are for different videos. So what I want you to focus on now is I'm not nervous, I'm excited, right? Going into competition, super jazzed. This is your joy, this is your zone. Okay. Now, if we dig a little bit further and we can kind of think there is a possibility that is a fear of success, right? So oftentimes fear of failure will disguise itself, or sorry, fear of success will actually disguise itself as fear of failure. What can happen when we failed over and over again through, a large pattern of our life is that we actually get really comfortable with failing. It's our mindset. We start making excuses going pre-competition as to why we're going to lose, right? Oh, we're making these excuses in our head. Oh, what am I going to tell my friends, my family when I come back and I haven't won, right? We're already thinking about those things. Oh, well, I'm proud of making this far, and I'm proud of, okay, well, how about you be proud of winning, right? How about you be proud for all the hard work that it took to get here, and then go that extra level. And it's just a little switch in your mind. Let's take it there, right? It's imperative to recognize when you have these thought patterns, but don't shame yourself, right? Because then that's the self-fulfilling prophecy, right? Getting back into the fear of success is, if I'm failing, it's comfortable for me. If I'm successful, I don't know what that experience is, right? So we're going to get into that in a different video. I don't want to get onto too much of a tangent. I want to stay here into fear of failure, because I think that is very real for a lot of people. And when you get a taste of that, right? So you have two different options. You can use that failure and you can learn, you can grow from it. And you can decide, all right, I'm going to take this and I'm going to never want to feel this again, right? And that's what a lot of great people do. Or you can go into, why me? I'm awful. This, negative self-talk of how terrible you are, right? And then every time it comes to competing again, you're going to be thinking about those past failures. The true champions, they learn from that failure and they forget about it. Great. What am I supposed to learn from this? Awesome. Now it's on to the next one, right? The next competition, the next lift, right? If you are missing a lift in your competition, you know what? Fuck it. That lift is over. I don't need to think about it anymore. My next one's on the table, right? Uh, I'm super big into F1 racing. Love it. If you look at Lewis Hamilton, 7-time world champ, right? He's breaking all these records. And if he has a bad lap, right into the next lap. He forgets about that one completely. It's on to the next lap, right? I got 70 more chances to get him perfect, right? And the more that I can hone in on each single lift that I have, whatever down it is in football, whatever your sport is, right? All of this will apply. So allowing yourself to be out of your head and into your zone. That's where we want to get. We want to get you into the zone, enjoying, playing, having fun. That's why you're living this life. That's why you put in the hard work in the gym, so that you get to competition. Your body knows what to do already. You've trained it thousands and thousands of repetitions, thousands and thousands of hours. You don't need to think about what you're doing when you're on the competition floor. All you have to think about is go time. I'm in the zone. Just clear your mind, right? And just let your body do what it's born to do, what you train every single day to do, right? Don't bring personal life into it. That's what we'll dig into some more too, is when you have other outside influences that you bring in, all the stress and anxiety, it can enhance that anxiety that you feel about competition. So now all of a sudden, I can't even focus and live in my joy on the field because I'm worried about problems with my wife, my kids, my partner, whatever. And living in your joy and your purpose is the gratitude. It's the hard work. And now I'm just going to own it, right? I'm going to own that. I'm going to live it. And that's where the joy is. So one of the tapping that we'll do is just to kind of get you out of your head, right? Get you out of the fear of failure and get you living into the zone, right? Just something simple that you can do really to knock away some of the butterflies and get you really just lower that anxiety, feel inside your body, and start ready to compete on that day. Okay. So the pressure points right here, you guys are just going to follow, repeat after me, follow along. Okay. So we'll start here on what we call the karate chop. And then after that, we're going to move up to the eyebrow right here, okay, the orbital bone. And then over here to the orbital bone, underneath, still on the orbital bone. And then in between the nose and your upper lip, in between your lower lip and your chin, and then onto the collarbone. Okay. Underneath the armpit right here, under the thumbnail bed, first finger, middle finger. Okay, we're going to skip the ring finger. We're going to go to the pinky finger. All right, and then onto top of your head. So these are all meridians, right? For those of you know that know EFT or have watched some of my videos on dynamic tapping, these are different little pressure points. If we think about our body as a big circuit board, anytime we're having these fears or traumas or anything that's kind of overwhelming us, we're having kind of a misconnection in our body's circuitry. Okay, so tapping through the sequence is going to help just reconnect those synapses, right, in the circuit board and let everything just flow naturally. Okay, so anytime that anxiety is really coming heavy, especially on competition, or anytime you're in your head, it's like, okay, let's just clear. Oftentimes, what I have my students do, what I do, and I do this before every single wakeboarding set that I have. And I don't necessarily pinpoint like, oh, what exactly is going on. I just tap through the sequence. My only goal is to shift any energy that's off and just allowing and trusting my intention, setting the intention, shift everything that needs shifted right now so that I can go out and I can be completely in the zone. I can feel everything on the water. I know where my body position is. I know where the boat is. I know, the line tension, right? So in you wakeboarders, there's all these things you have to think about. There's always these things that you're thinking about in your sport, right? So if you're about to hit your Olympic lift, are your feet in the right place, right? Because that's where a lot of things stems, your feet placement, your hips, your alignment, right? Is the bar in the right position? Are my hands right? You're going to be able to step up to that bar and feel everything in position. You're not going to have to think about, oh, is this right? And second guess yourself. Oh, is this right? Oh, well, last week I made a lift and I adjusted my hand grip. Fuck that shit. All of that shit is just things to get you in your head and get you out of what you're actually there to do. So allow yourself through the countless repetitions that you've done, step up to that bar, grab that position, feel it in your fucking bones, right? Like feel it in your soul and then fucking nail it. You're not thinking, just rip it. Let's do this, right? And that's the joy. Like that's the passion with it. So in that, where I'm tapping just to get rid of things, I don't do the karate chop. You'll see where this comes in a second. So what I'm going to do is I just tap through. I just breathe. My intention is just to shift anything that needs shifted so that I can live in the joy of my sport, right? I just breathe. You want to tap about 5 to 7 times in each area. Just breathe. Sometimes I'll say it out loud. I'm just going to shift whatever needs shifted. Just fucking shift it. Just here to live in my joy. All right. And sometimes that enough is, that alone is enough. So let's go. I'm going to give you one more. If you're having a feel of failure and you're going into a business opportunity, into your competition, right? This is what we want to focus on. You can do it the morning of, you can do it during the competition, you can do it, whenever it starts to arise. Okay. So we're going to start here. You'll just repeat after me. Even though I have a fear of failure, I deeply and profoundly love and trust myself. Even though I just have this huge fear of failing because I failed in the past and now I think I'm a failure, I deeply and profoundly love and accept myself. Even though I've gotten used to failing and I hate it so bad, it gets me out of my head. I deeply and profoundly love and trust myself. And I release that fear of failing now. I'm just so afraid of failing. I remember that one time I failed. It was so awful. I just never want to fail again. I just never want to fail again. All I think about is failing because I don't want to fail again. I just don't want to fail again. I'm just so sick of failing. So much pressure, just so much pressure about failing, just so much failure. I feel like such a failure. I feel like such a failure. Good. Take a deep breath. And think about releasing all that pressure, all that stress. So a lot of times, almost every time, honestly, you get little epiphanies why I tap. And why I want to do this with you guys is so that while I'm tapping, I generally will get something that comes to mind, or an insight, something that's happening. So what happens is when we're in that fear of failure and that's coming around, and that is the cycle that we're in, we're having trouble forgetting the old failure. So it's showing up again, right? And then it becomes our self fulfilling prophecy. Well, yep, you're going to fail now because that's what's on your mind, right? So we need to shift that. Tapping is going to help you see that. And then sometimes when we're tapping, we can what we call flip the script, right? So it might start as a fear of failure, where you're thinking about all of that, the past failures. And then we can shift it and we think about, instead of it being a failure, I learned a lot, right? Instead of being a failure, I learned from this lesson, right? I learned from losing. I see what it is to lose now, and I don't like it. Just flat out, I'm going to make the choice, right? I'm going to choose to learn from all my experiences because that's how we grow. That's how we get better, right? It's the losses that you really learn. What was it, right? Was it my body position? Was it my diet and nutrition? What was it? Was it my mindset? Oftentimes we are in the mindset now, especially if you see that cycle. All right, well, how do I break it, right? Tapping is going to help because it can help shift your mindset completely. The other thing is recognizing when you're in that thought pattern, and most importantly, not shaming yourself that you're in that thought pattern, right? I remember when I was competing, when I was wrestling, um, I don't know if my brother knows this or not. So I always looked up to him. He was older than me, 5 years. He was a state champ, and I always had all this pressure to perform at his level. Am I going to be that good? Am I going to, all this stuff? And I would always get in my head about it. And I would go up to, unranked kids, and I'd lose when I was really high ranked, number one in the state for a long time, long part of the season. And then I'd go against kids that were, way better than me. And I'd win, like no problem. It's like, what is that? Right. In hindsight, I could see like I went in not having the pressure. Oh, everybody expects them to lose. So I'm going to go out and give it everything that I have. And then all of a sudden, I'm not in my head thinking about losing. I'm in my head thinking about giving it everything and enjoying it. And like, all of a sudden you end up winning. Right. But then you go in there thinking like, oh man, like I don't want to lose. Everybody thinks I'm going to win. And then all of a sudden that's your energy. I don't want to lose. Instead of like, I'm going to fucking win. It's like scared. Right. So it wasn't in the gratitude, like, oh, awesome. Like this guy's in my house. I'm going to fucking throttle this shit, hammer down. So why I bring up my brother is one time he gave me a little set of tools. I actually wrote it on a little hotel notepad and I carried it around with me like the entire season. And what it was is it was a way to shift your mindset. And it applies so often to so many different scenarios. And what we have to recognize is the thought pattern that's holding us back, right? The fear, the doubt. It's like this self-doubt that comes in. Oh, what if I lose? Oh, what if this? And it's all these little things, these what ifs, right? Well, what ifs are fucking bullshit, right? How about we start talking differently? Well, yeah, what if I win in the first period, right? What if I nail my, um, my max lift on the first one? Like, oh shit. Now I'm going to have to hit even more. Like I get two more chances to even best that. Like how cool is that going to be? Right. Getting excited about performing our highest instead of scared. Right. So recognizing when you're in that thought pattern and changing it. So, prime example, right? Like that self doubt, like, oh man, what if I miss this first lift? What if this? What if, oh, okay. Oh, you know what? Like, I'm thinking really shitty right now. I'm thinking about worst case scenarios. Okay, no big deal. What do I want to happen? Right? Oh, you know what? Like, I want to nail this first lift. I want it to feel so easy that I'm going to jump, beyond my max on the next one. Sweet. Let's go for that. Let's see how that feels. Let's see how that sits in our body. Right. So that's going to be the first step. And every time it comes in, boom, just step it again. Like, all right, you know what? Another thing that I really love, this is super, super powerful. This really, really helped me is when they come in, not just acknowledging, but saying to yourself, I don't believe that anymore, right? We have the power, no matter what's happened yesterday and completely in the past, we have the power exactly now in this moment moving forward to change every single outcome ever, right? Any of this preconceived shit, like we can actually change our brain chemistry, our body chemistry, the composition, right? We can change all of these things. And it stems from what we believe, how we talk to ourselves, and we change all that. That's beautiful, right? We know this stuff. There's science coming out behind it, right? Dynamic tapping will help you shift that mindset completely. And then recognizing when you're in that pattern, oh, you know what? Don't shame yourself, right? So this is what tends to happen, especially when you get people who are really excited about self growth, right? Or they do a lot of therapy. They see all these patterns, and that's fantastic, right? That is the first step, because if you're unaware, you're always going to be living in this fucking loop, and you're not even going to have a chance to overcome it, right? So the first step is realizing that you're in this pattern that you don't want to be in, right? Now, the second step is not to shame yourself, because that's then the fear of success, right? That self-fulfilling prophecy. Then we start recognizing, like, oh, see, of course I don't deserve it. I'm not deserving. See, oh, I told you, right? And it's this circle. So recognizing, telling yourself, I don't fucking believe that anymore. You know what I do believe? That I'm going to go out and I'm going to win this competition. That I'm going to have the most fun I've ever had at a competition, and I'm not even going to be nervous about it. Holy shit! Like, and you're like, oh shit! Like, that's overwhelming. Maybe I need to tap on that. Like, right? So what does that even mean? Sometimes we have to change our identity of who we believe we are in order to overcome and become somebody new, right? But until you recognize that that's what's happening, you're going to be stuck in this fear of failure, right? You get to competition and, oh, I'm in the same. How do we move past that? Okay. So I hope this answers your fear of failure during competition day. Please reach out if you have any more questions, if you want to dive a little bit deeper. I'm happy to do sessions with anybody who this is coming up. They're having a hard time shifting, and, work through the tapping, see what comes up for you. Reach out. We can dig in a little bit more. Could be a lot of past things from childhood. Could be a lot of beliefs. What I'm realizing with a lot of my students is it's identities that they created when they were really young. And oftentimes it was put on them by somebody important to them, right? So it was an identity given to somebody that wasn't even them. And they just took it on as like, oh, I guess I'm this person, right? We'll get into more of those on next videos. So I don't want to make them too long. I want to be short, simple, already taking up 20 minutes of your time. So reach out. Best of love. I'm Derek Hutchins. This is Sailing Stone Mental Performance, right? Performance coaching for athletes and elites, people who want to be better. So looking forward to bringing you guys more and more content. Comment, like, share, all that fun stuff. Talk to you guys soon.